come to you with the next one. We've talked a lot about automation and ease of doing business, and specifically as it relates to business planning. I guess, Rick and Jessica have done a great job with, how it's impacted their lives at Broadcom and Juniper. But, Seán, in our world, as you well know, we work with many hundreds of thousands of partners, and they'll all tell you they have choices, which vendor is easy to work with, which one is challenging. But I suppose from your experience, Seán, maybe if you could share some of the best practices, how vendors ensure they're easy to work with, and the part automation plays in driving partners to a vendor's brand, if you like. How did they create that competitive advantage by using automation and reference obviously business planning in that, please, Seán?
Yeah, I suppose we've touched on it a number of times as part of the discussion so far, but ease of doing business is absolutely fundamental. Human nature being what it is, humans tend to gravitate to the easiest route. Okay, so if you can make it as easy as possible for people to engage with your program, then absolutely they're going to become more sticky to you. That's where you try and build that competitive advantage. If I'm working potentially with 7 vendors and 2 vendors have an automated business planning process and the other 5 it's all manual, well then more than likely I'm going to stick with the 2 that are automated. What does it bring to the table? Well, it really brings the ability to streamline the entire process. So, typically in your business planning, you've kind of got what I regard as 2 parts to it, right? You've got the definition of your business plan, the whole process of working that through with the partner, getting the agreement, getting sign off that, this is the agreed avenue to the endpoint, okay? So that's the first part. And then obviously the second part is once that plan is agreed, measuring against that plan, ensuring that both parties, stick to what was agreed. So from that point of view, it streamlines that entire process from the point of view of creation of the plan, agreement of the plan, sign off of the plan. All sorts of workflows can be built in there, but you also can build in a lot more collaboration in relation to, a 2-way conversation back and forth on the platform in relation to the various notes that can be added as those discussions. To Rick's earlier point, you're never going to have the same audience potentially in the room all of the time. So you need to have some record of what was discussed, what was chopped, what was changed, what was maybe moved away from what was agreed in the original plan. So I think Jessica also mentioned it as well. You define your KPIs up front, but you do need some degree of flexibility throughout the year. So obviously, again, benefits of automation, that ability to have that flexibility. We've already mentioned you've got different routes to market. You're going to have different types of business plans potentially for those different routes to market. That really becomes a headache when you go down in a manual process. Whereas from an automation perspective, we allow for those business plans to take whatever shape or form or KPIs that are required for those different types and route to markets. The other key thing is visibility, right? If I'm either your internal teams or your external teams, or external partners, I should say, where do I go? I think, Jessica, you've already referenced it as well. Where's my report? Where do I find it? How do I get to it? That's important internally for your own internal teams. You want those guys to be, value add, sales focused individuals. You don't want them going off trying to pull data from all sorts of back-end systems, maybe once a quarter to try and find out how's this partner doing against what was agreed up front in the business plan. So the automation of that, what we've seen with customers we've rolled this out with is massive. It gives back time, and time is precious for the vast majority of people. The more time you have to focus on what your key activities are, the better. So from that perspective, the automation process does reduce the overhead from a time perspective. But what it also does is, even though it reduces that overhead, it ensures the quality of the business plan as well, right? Where, you're pulling data from back-end systems, it's being fed into the business plan. It's real time, right? I think we've referenced it here on a number of occasions. A static business plan is useless, okay? Because what will happen is it'll be agreed at the start of the year. I think Rick mentioned, a month from the end of the year, you pull it back out, and guess what? Vendor expectation against partner, the real world from a partner perspective have completely diverged in the 11 months. Okay, so that visibility is huge. That real-time visibility where a partner can come in, see exactly how they're doing. The internal teams can come in, see exactly how that partner is doing. what it does is it enforces accountability, because nobody can waffle their way out of it, right? This is what was agreed. This is how I'm doing against what was agreed. As you said, Jessica, maybe throughout the year you need to make a tweak or two, but at least you have a record of what tweaks are being made. That conversation is all recorded against the business plan. So from that point of view, the real-time nature of it, the visibility, the fact that it's real data that's being pumped into the business plan, you know, as Rick said, this shouldn't be something that's once a quarter. This should be something that people can come into week on week, understand exactly how they're performing against the business plan. And obviously with automation, that's, you know, that's what it allows. It allows that data integration where, you know, whatever your sources or data are, be it a PRM, be it an LMS from the enablement perspective, or a CRM from a, you know, a targeted account perspective, you know, that's what automation allows you to build into the business plan, to be able to pull from those various different data sources, automate that process and take away that overhead from the people who are managing the plan. It's like everything. Nobody reads last week's newspaper, right? So unless it's kept up to date, you know, it's not going to be used. But the visibility is huge, where somebody on the partner side can come into your partner portal and deep dive into their business plan. And likewise on the internal side, the visibility is huge as well. You know, the account managers can come in and deep dive straight in and understand that it's real time and has the relevant data. Obviously, the business plan will only be as good as the data that you have. So that is a fundamental kind of building block that's required from a business plan perspective, is that, you know, the data is there to support the KPIs that you're measuring against. So, you know, that's something to consider if you're looking to roll out a business plan, is where is my data? Where's the data sources? Is that something that we could easily automate and pull into business planning? I suppose, and I asked Jessica, you know, what were the challenges potentially to, you know, rolling out an automated system? Sometimes one of the other challenges is, you know, companies shy away sometimes because they think it's a heavy lift from an IT perspective. You know, it's not as difficult as people think. You know, from a platform perspective, I suppose what we bring to the table is a very configurable and flexible business planning capability that, you know, it does not require IT involvement apart from potentially any integration into data sources. The actual configuration and setup of the business plan is something that, you know, the business can typically take care of within the vendor side of the house. So, yeah, if that comes up in conversation, it's not one that should be perceived to be a showstopper. It's not a heavy lift from an IT perspective. So I think, Ken, yeah, I think that's everything.
No, that's great, Seán, and again, a lot there. So yeah, that's the nitty gritty of the detail, I suppose, Seán. So I don't, Jessica or Rick, anything you wanted to kind of chime in on what Seán said there before I move on?
No, actually, he went in pretty in depth there, and it pretty much sums up everything that we've been talking about. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I would just agree. I think that what you touched on with like the templates and how configurable this specific platform is, that's been what's, I think, been so attractive for us too, is that we as business owners can manage a lot of this stuff without, like you said, it being IT or dev heavy. So that's been huge.
Yeah, no, that's a really important point. You know, having the ability to change, drive the business, like Rick made the point, it's a living, breathing document. Having that self-service ability to add a KPI, remove a KPI, change the target, etc., and that's really, really important. And that has to happen on the fly. That can't be an IT project. That literally has to happen there and then to be successful. And that is ultimately what creates competitive advantage for you against the opposition. That's the truth of it. That's what it comes down to, and that equals revenue at the end of the day.